see you. Yeah. I think you came to our meeting once before, didn't you? Yeah.
There's the mic.
I'm just 78 today.
Just stay close to this. You should get some sound. That's not working. The microphone.
We're going to march off this way, so you can sit on this stone if you want. Out front, sit on it. Honor guard, stand up, present, arm. Order, arms, array, rest.
Welcome everyone to the beautiful Evergreen Cemetery. To start with today, we're going to have military honors by the Springville, Spanish Fork, Payson American Legion, as well as representatives from the United States Army. Turn the time over to them.
Honor guard, stand up, present, arm.
Dear family members and friends, we of the American Legion and the United States Army deem it a privilege to render military rights and honors today to our friend and comrade in arms, Kay Bills. Kay's mortal life was blessed with happiness and joy because he and men and women like him have served honorably and without hesitation to protect the rights, freedoms, and liberties that we all enjoy in this great land of America. Before us is the flag of the United States of America. It is under this flag that we all served. This flag is recognized by friend and foe alike as a symbol of freedom as it proudly flies over our republic, the land of the free and the home of the brave. These proud soldiers are lovingly and meticulously folding our flag, and it will be presented to the family. Following the presentation of the flag, our rifle squad will fire 3 volleys. The 3 volleys come from an old battlefield custom. The 2 warring sides would cease hostilities to clear their fallen from the battlefield, and the firing of the 3 volleys meant that the fallen had been properly cared for, and the sides were ready to resume the battle. Kay has been properly cared for, and his mortal battles are over. At the conclusion of the firing of the 3 volleys, our post bugler will sound taps. Taps is a living soldier's final tribute and last farewell to a comrade in arms. Listen carefully, and you will hear, as our bugler plays, "Day is done, gone the sun, from the hills, from the lake, from the sky. All is well, safely rest, God is nigh." As taps is being sounded, we would ask that you all place your hand over your heart out of respect for Kay. If you are a military veteran, it's proper for you to render a hand salute. And so for now, K.E. Bills, good friend to all who knew you, until we meet again, may God bless and keep you, your family, and these United States of America.
On behalf of the President of the United States, the United States Army, and a grateful nation, please accept this flag as a symbol of our appreciation for your loved one's honorable and faithful service.
Order, arm, rifle detail, prepare to fire, port, arm, ready, aim, fire one, fire two, fire three, port, arm. Bugler, present, arm. Order, arm, parade, rest.
Dear family members and friends, we of the American Legion consider ourselves family, a unique brotherhood. Kay was an important part of that brotherhood, and so, in his honor today, we have left an open spot in our firing line, a missing man. Kay is missing in our formation today, but he is ever present in our hearts. I would like to share with you now our American Legion resolution. Honor Guard, attention to orders. The American Legion resolution, whereas it has pleased Almighty God, the great commander, to summon to the immortal legions our beloved comrade, K.E. Bills. And whereas we humbly bow to the will of divine providence, while ever cherishing in our hearts the memory of distinguished service to our country and outstanding contributions to American Legion comradeship. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Springville, Mapleton Post number 28, the American Legion, does mourn the passing of our comrade, K.E. Bills. That we commend to all the works and to God the Spirit. And be it further resolved that in token of our common grief, a copy of this resolution transferring K.E. Bills to post everlasting, the American Legion, be presented to the next of kin. Family and friends, this concludes our military rites today for our friend and comrade in arms, K.E. Bills. On behalf of the American Legion and the United States Army and the 16 members of our honor guard here today, we'd like to thank the Bills family for allowing us to honor Kay in this way. Thank you all again. And and may God bless you all.
Honor guard, stand hut, present arms. Order, arms, rifle detail, port, arms, left face, forward, march. Column left.
We again want to thank the American Legion Honor Guard as well as the United States Army for their participation in the rites today. If the pallbearers will come up and place their boutonnieres on the casket at this time.
Welcome, brothers and sisters, to the Graveside service for Brother Kay Bills. My name is Corey Estes, and I've been associated with the Bills family for about 15 years now. All of them. And they're all top-notch in my book. I have been presented with the honor of conducting the spiritual side of this service, and it is a great honor. Would like to, again, thank the American Legion for their participation. And as you notice, over here to my right, your left, the fire trucks from the Mapleton City Fire Department, in honor of Kay's long service and help keeping us safe in fire. We would like to proceed now with the dedicatory prayer offered by brother-in-law Howard Stewart.
Father in heaven, by the power of the holy baptism priesthood, we dedicate and consecrate this plot of ground for the final resting spot of K.E. Bills. Heavenly Father, protect this plot of ground from all natural and human destructions. Bless it, it will be preserved until the first resurrection, where the body and the spirit will come together. Bless Kay for all the dry humor, all the interesting hobbies he had that we all enjoyed. And bless his family, that they can get together and take care of and be bear with each other and enjoy their families and get together and be good with what they got to do, and they can visit this place occasionally to remember everything their Father had done for them. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Brother Stewart. We'd like to formally, for the record, acknowledge the pallbearers for their participation. Brother Kent Bills, Kirk Phillips, Tyson Bunker, Hadley Davis, Quinn Butler, Chandler Christiansen, Jason Bills, Pete Winterton, with honorary pallbearers of Gordon Bills, Russell Davis, Wiley Davis, Wade Winterton, Nikki Bunker, and Jamie Davis. We'd like to take some time and remember Kay. And we're going to do that by starting with the live sketch provided by Brenda Bills and Linda Phillips. After we will have memories from Kay's children, Gordon Bills, Brenda Bills, Kent Bills, and Linda Phillips. And we'll go to that point.
Our dad, grandpa, great-grandpa, our dad, grandpa, great-grandpa, brother, uncle, cousin, and friend, K.E. Bills, passed away on March 22nd, 2026, just short of his 95th birthday. Dad was born and raised in Mapleton. He now leaves behind. Okay, we'll start over. Our dad, grandpa, great-grandpa, brother, uncle, cousin, and friend, K.E. Bills, passed away on March 22nd, 2026, just short of his 95th birthday. Dad was born and raised in Mapleton. He now leaves behind his title of being the oldest born and raised resident.
Dad was born on April 18th, 1931, to Douglas and Lenore Johnson Bills. He had 6 siblings growing up: Dick, Nadine, Patricia, Ted, Mac, and Diane.
Dad married his high school sweetheart, Jean Stewart, on May 20th, 1952. Dad and Mom are the parents of 5 children: Gordon, Brenda, Russell, Kent, and Linda. Even better, they had 8 grandchildren, 12 great-grandchildren, and 2 great-great-grandchildren.
Dad attended Mapleton Elementary, Springville Junior High, and Springville High, and Central Utah Vocational School, now known as UVU. Dad graduated from Springville High in 1949. He was a proud and active member of the class of 49, Red Devil through and through. He enjoyed looking at his yearbooks as well as reading the write-ups from each of his class reunions.
Dad started working for local farmers at age 8 and continued until he was 18. He served in the Army from 1949 to 1953 on Okinawa during the Korean War as part of the Heavy Mortar Company.
Dad's interest included about the history of Mapleton and Springville. Dad loved collecting everything: replica model cars, trucks, ammunition shells, records, 8-tracks, and cassette tapes, along with their players. Dad participated in the scouting program, taking scouts to Yellowstone. He enjoyed hunting and fishing, especially trout fishing at Maple Canyon. He made several trips to Monument Peak, both hiking and on his towcoat. Dad had raised pigeons, tumbling and homing, chickens, and rabbits. If Dad was cooking dinner, we would be leery. What animal from the backyard was for dinner? If the power was out, Dad would start his generator and run an extension cord into the house and plug in the waffle iron. He loved to till his garden. Dad is full of funny sayings and funny songs he loved to share with those around him. His grandkids laughed when he would spell their names in Morse code using the dits and das. It was always entertaining.
Dad is survived by his children, Gordon, his wife Kathy, Brenda, Kent, Linda, her husband Kirk Phillips, grandchildren Nikki, Jamie, Brad, Jody, Jason, Brittany, and Christopher. Great-grandchildren Alexis, Kaylee, Russell, Wiley, Macy, Caitlin, Madison, Allie, Camden, Nicholas, Cyrus, and Elsie. Great-great-grandchildren Wade and Casey. Dad is also survived by his brother-in-law, his brother Mac Bills, brother-in-law Ron Widdison, brother-in-law Howard, his wife Cheryl Stewart, sister-in-law Chris, her husband Randy Chappell.
In his spare time, Dad repaired televisions, radios, and record players under the name of Kay's Radio and TV. While attending vocational school in 1955, Dad joined the amateur radio Han and Mars military auxiliary radio system. His dedication to ham included checking in each day at 12:30 p.m. He was required to check in a minimum of 20 days per month to retain his 5th position in the roll call. He helped with communication near Birdseye during the flood of Thistle in 1983.
Dad worked at Geneva Steel for 43 years in the instrument repair shop, where he became good friends with his co-workers.
Dad was an active volunteer in the American Legion, Mapleton Volunteer Fire Department for 25 years, Bishop Storehouse for 10 years, and Utah Valley Hospital for 13 years, Mapleton Senior Gym, and a church greeter at church.
After Dad's retirement, Mom taught Dad how to make the loomed hats. To date, Dad has made almost 6,000 unique-looking hats. These hats have been given to people around the world, as well as many friends and family. He made hats for his granddaughter's elementary classmates during several of her elementary years.
Is that him
Dad
saying
was
enough?
preceded in death by his wife, Jean, parents, son Russell Bills, granddaughter Mackenzie Phillips, siblings Nick, Dee, Patricia, Ted, and Diane.
Special thanks to the staff at Central Utah Veterans Home in Payson for their endless love and support.
Dad believed he would live forever. He would say, so far, so good.
In addition to what we put together, we ran across some stuff that Dad had written down. I was born and raised in Mapleton and went to school in Mapleton and Springville. I played football and basketball and was in the FFA for 4 years, president my senior year. I worked for some of the farmers in the summers. I graduated from high school in May 1949, worked on the farm for Eddie Snow for the summer. Not many jobs around, so I joined the Army in September 1949. I wanted to get into operating heavy construction equipment, so I requested Corps of Engineers. Went to Fort Ord, California for basic training, Company F, 8th Infantry. After basic, I attended Infantry Leadership School and then was assigned in Company A, 8th Infantry, to train new recruits. Since I had enlisted for the Corps of Engineers, I requested to be transferred in May 1950. I was sent to Okinawa and was assigned to the Engineer Supply Depot for the heavy equipment and was essentially a parts clerk. When the Korean War started on 25 June of 1950, we had extensive training in case we were attacked on Okinawa. I was later transferred to the 29th Infantry, where we had 4 weeks training and were scheduled to go to Korea when I transferred to the 29th Infantry. I was given a choice of a rifle company or heavy mortar company. Since I knew all about rifle company, I chose heavy mortar, which paid off later. We had 4 weeks training and were scheduled to go to Korea 9 hours before we were due to leave. They decided to keep some of the companies for possible defense of Okinawa. Among the companies that they kept on Okinawa were Tank Company, Service Company, Heavy Mortar Company, and Medics. although some medics went with the rifle companies. When the rest of the units went to Korea on the second day, they were ambushed and nearly all were killed. The rest of us that stayed on Okinawa were on 12-hour notice to ship out for about 4 months, but we were never sent to Korea. I stayed on Okinawa for 23 months. I came home to the States, got married, and went to Camp Atterbury, Indiana, and was discharged there on 16 January of 1953. After returning home, I got a job at Geneva Steel, where I worked for 43 years, raised a family, 3 boys, 2 girls.
When I was growing up, Dad would take me fishing occasionally. We were going up Maple Canyon, and there was a log sitting there, and he stepped over it, kept going. I stepped over it, the rattlesnake. I heard them rattle. I was standing up on the road the next thing he knew, and he turns and says, what's wrong with you? I says, there's a rattlesnake right down there. He says, no, I just stepped there. Nope. We went down, found it, cut the rattles off, and then I lost him on the way home.
Kind of tired.
We figure he stepped probably on the snake, but between the heel and the front of the shoe. So he just kind of pinned it there, but I remember hunting with him. He loved to pheasant hunt, like I did. And we go out and hunt through Mapleton when it was still legal to do that. We'd hunt over my grandfather's property and that. And every year I missed my first bird and then I wouldn't miss one. We were walking along and all of a sudden one come up. I shot. It went down. And my dad says, we'll pick that up in a minute. He was down the ditch walking along, and all of a sudden he reached down and grabbed that pheasant by the neck and wrung its neck because I hadn't killed it completely. I hauled many TVs up and down them stairs with him while he'd work on them. I think that's about all I got today.
I thought this would be hard to come up with memories of Dad and get them written down. Once I started, there was no end in sight. There are so many memories I wanted to share about our dad. We got together the other night and talked about Dad and started looking through his journals. These journals were created around 2004 to 2026. Tyson took a picture of the page of his journal with AI, and it was amazing to see how AI described Dad. Basically, Dad was a man of routines. His routines included going to Del Taco almost daily, Denny's for breakfast, afterwards going to Walmart, walking and shopping, Harbor Freight, purchasing at least 5 of the featured inexpensive items, DI, Dad purchased many record players, cassette players, and records. He'd go to the cemetery, walk through the cemetery, the entire Evergreen Cemetery. He wrote down all the people he knew and their name, their birth date, their death date. He stopped by the shooting ranges often, cleaned up the shells, even hauled out old shot-up televisions. At age 84, Dad became the oldest newspaper boy. At the veterans' home, he would go down and pick up the papers and deliver them throughout the veterans' home. Utah Valley Hospital, he went there every week for 13 years. Since I worked at the hospital, we would lunch together before his shift began. Bishop Storehouse, every week for 10 years. American Legion, he attended the military services for many of the veterans. He got onto the ham radio at least 20 times a month to check in. Routines kept him going. During the opening of Denny's in Spanish Fork, Dad went to the opening celebration and won 1 year's worth of Grand Slam breakfast. Basically, a Grand Slam each week for the entire year. Dad used every one of those. Promotions usually help bring in more business. With Dad, he ordered water and never took anyone with him, so Denny's didn't get any extra money out of the deal. At Del Taco, the staff would see Dad coming and start making his egg taco with a hard taco shell. Later on, that item was removed from the menu, but the staff would continue to make his request. Dad would take a little container with some wheat to feed the birds and would sit by the window to feed the birds and watch the birds. One time he forgot his teeth, so he just took his taco home. Dad was a great provider for our family. He purchased encyclopedias and other reference books, National Geographic, Reader's Digest, and my favorite of his collection was the Funkin' Wagnall, as featured on the Rowan and Martin Laugh-In show. You can look that up in your Funkin' Wagnall. Dad loved music. Because of his interest in music and electronics, he had record players, 8-track players, cassette players, and a lot of records. Growing up, we heard a lot of Herb Alpert, the Tijuana Brass. Later in life, Dad enjoyed classical music. He was amazed to think how music was made by combining notes. He had a very curious mind. Dad was also amazed at timing. If he would see someone at Walmart, he would think of the timing that allowed them to meet up. 5 minutes one way or the other, the outcome would have been different. One morning, Dad walked out of the house and noticed their car was missing. They called the reported the incident to the Mapleton police. The incident was even mentioned in the Springville Herald. Names withheld to protect the innocent. Police report that day. Mapleton Police had 60 calls last week, including 12 animal related. They got a good laugh after one call for a stolen vehicle. It seems that a Mapleton man called early in the morning saying that his car had been stolen. Later that day, the man's wife called the police saying she thought she had spotted the stolen car in Springville. Mapleton Police checked the car out and found that it was indeed the couple's vehicle. They sent an unmarked Springville police car to the scene to wait for someone to come out of the store where the car was. In the meantime, the woman called her husband and said that they had found their car. It was then that the husband realized that the couple themselves had left the car where it was found. The day before, they had driven to Springville in 2 cars and gone home in 1. In 2019, Dad had a little accident while trying to remove a stump that ended up landing on his leg and breaking the tibia and fibula. It was cleanup day in Mapleton, so neighbors were in their yards but didn't see Dad, who was at the far end of the garden. He realized it was broken because his foot was flopping around. He army crawled from the garden area, up the back stairs, through the house, and to the telephone. He got a rod in his leg and couldn't put any weight on his leg for weeks. I thought Dad would never survive this fall. This is when Dad's wardrobe became shorts and a t-shirt. December 2023, Dad walked outside and I was inside cleaning. I could hear this banging. I finally went outside, and there he was laying on the ground banging on the garage door to get my attention. I wanted him to get a device to notify emergency personnel if he needed help, but of course, he refused. March 2024, Dad lost his balance in the entryway of his home and landed on his hip. Much to our relief, he had his cell phone with him. He called me, and then I called Kirk, and we headed to the house. Again, we didn't think he would survive, but he slowly regained his strength, and we went from us pushing him around in a wheelchair to short walks with the walker to Dad making 3 trips almost daily through the veterans' home, very long hallways. Dad started singing songs to us and also while in the foyer by himself. I told him the staff heard him singing, and he was surprised because he was singing quietly. Dad was full of sayings and songs. Some of his sayings, cheer up, things could be worse. So I cheered up, and sure enough, things got worse. Another one he would say, as a beauty, I am not a star. There are others more handsome by far. But my face, I don't mind it. It's the people in front that get the jar. 30 days has September, April, June, and no wonder. All the rest has 31, except Grandma, and she is 82. When asked how he was doing, he would say, "Terrible, but thanks for asking." I think he got that from his sister Nadine. He had another favorite song, "The Old Lady and the Burglar," one of Jamie's favorites. A favorite of his was one that he put together when he was a young man in Mapleton growing up. "How do you do, everybody?" And it involved different little sayings about people in the ward. When staff or visitors knocked on the door, Dad would say, "Who's that knocking at my door?" Dad liked to write in line journals of significant or insignificant happenings to help him remember. He wrote down the breakfast, lunch, and dinner times. He wandered down the community hall and wrote down the names of each of the residents in the community. He asked me how I knew so many people at the Veterans Home. He couldn't remember names, so he would often write them down. To help him remember names, he would associate the name with someone else with the same name. Dad would remember Whitney's name because he is related to the Whitney family. There was Colin, so he remembered Colin Allen. There was a Nate, he thought of Nate Crandall. Then there was Lawrence, so he tried to remember by thinking of Lawrence of Arabia, but that one never worked. In fact, Lawrence was the one that he would sit with at dinner time. For the most part, Dad's memory was pretty good. There were a handful of staff and veterans that he remembered their names without help. Stacy, a favorite nurse. Maddie, a favorite aide. Kate, another favorite aide. Dad said Kate, who spelled her name K-A-Y-T, and he had similar names because he was K-E and she was K-T. He remembered Leon and Wade's names, two of the veterans that often visited with Dad. He remembered Parker's name because of a previous person in his life. And anyone that he would see wearing their ball cap backwards was Parker. He remembered Gary's name, who would come to visit his mother and take time to sit and visit with Dad. Wade and Gary would always encourage Dad. Wade told Dad he needed to go outside and get a little fresh air. Dad's quick reply was he didn't need to go outside because he was getting plenty of fresh air by sitting by the door as the veterans went in and out to smoke. He knew what time the fish tank light went on and off. He noted when the Christmas lights were turned off for the season. While there, Dad could hear music in his head and wondered if we could hear the music. Songs included Old Lang Syne, Edelweiss, My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean, and many others. When it first started, it was only Old Lang Syne, over and over. He said he didn't mind the constant music too much. At home, he always had the TV or music on. At the Veterans Home, he only listened to the music in his head. After visiting with Dad, he would walk us out to the front foyer. I would tell the staff who was escorting us out. I think the hardest thing I've ever done was turning to walk out of the door and leaving Dad sitting there alone. I always felt like I was leaving him behind. That memory tears at my heart. I know Dad was never off at the Veterans Home where the staff was so kind and loving. He was so tired but continued to push himself at his own pace. Dad always wondered why he just wasn't getting better, but we could see how much stronger he had become those last 2 years. He entered on March 22nd, 2024, and left on March 22nd, 2026, exactly 2 years. The staff loved him so much that during his final days, a few of the staff came in on their own time to sit with him, and others showed up for the procession on their day off. Special thanks to those that visited him, especially Pat Miller, who would visit often and take him treats that I enjoyed, and his nephew Stephen Bills, who is a volunteer at the Veterans Home. Stephen would stop by weekly to visit with Dad. We are unable to truly express our gratitude to the Benyon Veterans Home. Their staff has been so kind to Dad, always greeting him with "Hi, Kay." They all knew his name and they greeted him. Dad would say, "I don't know who that is." It's interesting how one memory leads into another memory. We've got memories to last us forever. Love you, Dad. You'll be missed. We are so happy you're no longer alone.
Oh, one thing I remember about Dad is he was gone a lot. He worked hard. He worked hard so we could have
what we needed and what we wanted. I got to ski because Dad worked so hard. I can remember as a little kid sitting on his lap at the shooting range. He was always around the guns and always brought up safely around the guns, and he was always there for us. One thing I'd like to say about my sisters, they have freaking amazing through the last couple of years taking care of Dad. And I love them all for it. Dad, you're gonna be blessed. And I love you.
I'm going to kind of cut this short. Me and Brenda have the same mind, so there's a lot that we shared. But my dad was a great man and worked hard providing for our family. He amazed me with his work ethic and all the volunteering he did over the years. He made me want to be a better person and be more giving of my time to help others in need. One of my classmates reached out to me on Monday morning, sharing a story of needing to go to the Bishop's storehouse for groceries. She had 2 small children and said she was embarrassed about needing help. She said that some of the workers were not always kind, but both my parents were always friendly and caring, along with being very patient with her 2 small children. After my mom passed away, we loved having Dad come to family dinners every Sunday night. We loved spending time with him, sharing stories and laughing. Our favorite thing to do on Sunday nights was watching America's Funniest Home Videos. On April 27th, 2029, when he broke his leg out in the garden, Brenda went over how he had to army crawl in there. But he called me before the ambulance got there and he said, "Linda, I poked my leg." And I'm like, "Okay, Dad." And then I realized, oh, he broke his leg. Later, I would say to him that he broke his leg really bad. And he would correct me and say, he broke it really good. After he healed, we had a stump burning ceremony to burn that old stump. Some of my best memories have been the past 2 years visiting my dad at the care center. I would visit him twice a week on Wednesdays and Saturdays. During these visits, he would share many stories about his friends and family. He shared a lot of stuff I didn't know, and I will cherish those stories. Our favorite thing to do was sit at the aquarium and front foyer people watching. We loved looking at his old books that Brenda took over, his yearbooks, and he'd tell stories about his classmates. Brenda found an old picture from elementary school with classmates, and he could remember every single child's name in that book, and that picture. I cannot do that. So he had a great memory. We would take Jamie's kids to the care center to visit with great-grandpa. Jamie always started going over every Monday with the kids. Oh, how he loved those visits, watching them play and run around. Dad was proud to show them off and share them with the other residents in the hall. Russell and Wiley loved to salute the veterans, and they'd always salute them back. Russell and Wiley loved pushing Dad in the wheelchair, which sometimes was a little scary, but he was always a good sport. The past several months, he loved to sing silly old songs, many which he said his Uncle Eddie taught him. I loved hearing those songs and would ask him to sing them several times during my visits. If I would have known he was going to pass away so quickly toward the end, I would have recorded those songs to play for me and my grandkids. It's been an honor to have him as my dad and be able to serve him over the past several years after my mom passed away. I will always cherish the memories we shared together. I know you're giving Mom, Mackenzie, and Russell big hugs. I miss you, but I know I will see you again.
We'd like to thank the family for their memories and invite you all, at Kay's request, to join them for the luncheon, where we'll have an open mic. We'd love to hear more stories, love to hear more comments, love to get together and enjoy some food. If you don't have the address, it's at the Eagle Rock Church here in Mapleton. I have the address, but if you wanted to grab it really quick, it's 825 Hawks Rest Drive. Okay, just back over there at the mountain. We appreciate you being here. In closing, I had the opportunity to be a bishop for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. One of my responsibilities there was to take care and conduct funerals. In my time as bishop, I had the opportunity to preside at 35 funerals. And in that opportunity, I always took the chance to ask my Father in heaven if there was a message from the deceased that they would like to have their posterity hear. So today I took that opportunity again and immediately was impressed with one word. Kay Bills wants you to believe. Believe in the good. Believe in the things he stood for. Believe in being kind to one another. Believe in supporting one another and taking care of the things that you need to. Be believers. That is his request, and he will ask you about it when you see him again. Did you believe? So in the name of Jesus Christ, we end our ceremony here and invite you now to linger as long as you need to or want to. Take pictures, enjoy each other's company, the beautiful day he ordered. And then join us over at the Eagle Rock Church for lunch and further memories. Thank you, brothers and sisters.
I gotta tell you a quick story. Your daughter Miranda, what's your little girl's name? What is it? Riker. Okay, anyway.